You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and there's a lot to get to today. 3 huge stories and 2 not as huge stories, but still, they're worth talking about. But I want to start with Philip Rivers. Yesterday, Tom Telesco, the GM of the Chargers, said that the Chargers are going to let Philip Rivers walk in free agency. This is something that has been rumored for a long time, and now it is official. Philip Rivers will wear a different uniform next year. And that is official also. Rivers is not going to retire. He's going to look to play somewhere else. I understand why the Chargers are doing this. Rivers did not have a good year last year, and it's clear that he's on the tail end of his career. I'd be stunned if he lasted more than 2 years in whatever city he goes to next. I mean, he's 38 years old. If you saw him on the field, he was a shell of his former self. And there was a time when Philip Rivers was one of the 5 or 10 best quarterbacks in football. Well, he's not that anymore. He made a lot of bad decisions. He turned the ball over a lot. And I don't blame the Chargers for doing this. The one thing I'll say from the Chargers' end, and then I'll go to Rivers, is they need to draft Justin Herbert. I don't want them to sign Bridgewater. I don't want them to sign Ryan Tannehill, Taysom Hill. I don't even want them to have Tyrod Taylor as the starter. Justin Herbert needs to be the starter for the Chargers. If you want to have Taylor start week 1 and then you let Herbert sit, alright, fine. You know, I guess I can't begrudge that too much. That's the way that the NFL is going now. I don't like it, but whatever. Rivers is still good enough to win. He completed 66% of his passes, and he threw for over 4,600 yards. That is more passing yards than he has ever thrown except in 2010, 2011, and 2015. Those are the 4th most passing yards of his career in a single season. Now, yeah, there were moments where he looked really bad, and I'm not blaming the Chargers for moving on. But if the Chargers' point of view is that they think they can be a playoff team with a better quarterback, the answer is no. No. Philip Rivers is not the reason that the LA Chargers did not make the playoffs last year. The reason that the Chargers didn't make the playoffs last year is because they're just not a good football team. Their running game was non-existent. Yeah, Melvin Gordon's a good goal line back, but he's not gonna wow you doing anything else. Gordon and Eckler are not a great 1-2 punch. Eckler is one of the best pass-catching backs in football, but the Chargers had no running game to speak of last year. They were in the bottom half of the league in whatever stat you want to look at when it comes to their running game. attempt, yards, touchdowns, yards per attempt, bottom half of the league. That's not Rivers' fault. Their offensive line is just average. Michael Schofield is one of the best pass blockers in the NFL. But he's also one of the worst run blockers in the NFL. Trey Pipkins and Russell Okung aren't gonna wow you. Forrest Lamp, I was really high on coming out of Western Kentucky, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Sam Tevy is useless. Scott Quisenberry, useless. Dan Feeney, useless. Trent Scott, useless. Average may have actually been too kind. That's not Rivers' fault. The Chargers need to hit the reset button here. I don't mind them moving on. Alright, it's clear that Phillip Rivers, it's been clear for a very, very long time. And this isn't even, this past 5 years or so. This has been for a long time that Phillip Rivers could not be the quarterback of a Super Bowl winning team. It's part of the reason why I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. Great regular season quarterback, but when it comes to the playoffs, he's terrible. The Chargers need to hit the reset button here. Build around Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Hunter Henry. Herbert will have 3 fantastic weapons to work with. Anthony Lynn is a good coach, I guess. Last year he was really bad, but the year before, they made the playoffs. And the year before that, they went 9-7. So, I guess it's fair to say he's a decent coach. There are worse coaches in the league than Anthony Lynn. All I can say is, do not try to make one more go at this. Don't go all in trying to get a Super Bowl this year. No. That's not the right way to go here. Draft Herbert and build for the future. It's the only chance you have of being successful in the near future. If you sign Tannehill or go after Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota, that's not going to end well for you. For Phillip Rivers, though, this is kind of interesting. What is he going to prioritize? Is he going to prioritize winning? Or is he going to prioritize money? He's made over $218 million playing football. And that's just the total cash he's gotten. He's probably gotten much more in endorsements. So, he doesn't need money. If he wants to win, go to the Titans. That's really the only team that I can see him going to and having a realistic chance to win a Super Bowl. Unless he's going to try to do this for multiple years. If he's going to try to stick around for 2 years, anything can happen in the NFL in 2 years. The Cincinnati Bengals, worst team in the league last year. It's very conceivable that Joe Burrow turns that team around into a playoff team in 2 years. But if we're just looking at next year, any team that he goes to, whether it's the Buccaneers or the Colts, that team, I don't think they're a playoff team with him. The Titans are, though. The Titans made the AFC title game and came close to beating the Chiefs with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback. With Phillip Rivers, who knows what could have happened in that game. Now, Rivers isn't a good playoff quarterback. I get that. But they're still better with Rivers than they are Tannehill. Now, the Titans have been pretty consistent in saying that they're going to have Tannehill back. They want him to start. But Rivers makes a difference. If you're John Robinson, do you really bank on Tannehill repeating what he did last year? Or do you go with the proven guy, the guy who we all know is better? There's no question that Phillip Rivers is better than Ryan Tannehill. Did Tannehill have a better year than Rivers? Yes. But Rivers is the better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. I think it makes sense for the Titans to go after Rivers hard. The Buccaneers, I just don't think they're a playoff team with Rivers. And the same thing with the Indianapolis Colts. Look, it's not like this guy is Kirk Cousins, and he's entering free agency in the prime of his career. He's 38 years old. You'll only have 2 good years with him, max. Unless you're going to go all in those 2 years, make blockbuster trades for superstars, go all in free agency, it makes no sense. I really think it's Titans or bust for Rivers. On to Major League Baseball, and an idea so asinine that it makes you wonder whether the person that dreamt it up was on drugs. This is from Joel Sherman of the New York Post. I'm not knocking Sherman. I like Joel Sherman. I think he's a very good journalist. But this is what he reported as an actual idea being floated around Major League Baseball. I'll read it and summarize it as best I can for you. MLB is seriously weighing a move from 5 to 7 playoff teams in each league beginning in 2022. Under this idea, the team with the best record in each league would receive a bye to avoid the wild card round and go directly to the division series. So similar to the NFL. The 2 other division winners and the wild card with the next best record would each host all 3 games in a best of 3 wild card round. So the bottom 3 wild cards would have no first round home games. The division winner with the second best record in a league would then get the first pick of its opponent from those lower 3 wild cards. Then the other division winner would pick, leaving the last 2 wild cards to play each other. Moreover, the plan is to have these decisions made on a TV show the Sunday night the regular season ends, and have representatives from the team pick their opponents on live TV. I'll give you a moment to digest all of that. I won't repeat it. You can just rewind this to try to wrap your head around it. I'm not sure I'm able to understand it. I don't hate the idea of expanded playoffs. It's what every league wants. They want more playoff games. They want to get that sweet, sweet ad money. They want to get the playoff revenue. You'll get the fans in the door. So I don't hate the idea of there being 7 teams in each league. I don't even hate the idea of the best team in the American League and the best team in the National League getting a bye. That's fine. I have no problem with that. My issue is this picking of opponents. On what planet is that feasible? That's one of the best things in sports, that you have these lower seeds that may prove to be difficult opponents for a higher seed. And now you're negating that. If you're a team with great pitching, you're going to look for a team with average hitting. If you're a team with great hitting, you're going to look for a team with average pitching. You're negating all the great matchups that you get from not picking opponents. Why are you reinventing the wheel? The solution to fixing the declining interest in Major League Baseball isn't to make the playoffs a gimmick. You get to pick an opponent. How gimmicky is that? Why stop there? Why not have the entire month of September be dealer's choice? How about the best team in the league not picking their opponent, though, under this structure? Under this structure, you're basically guaranteeing that the 3 teams in each league that finished with the best regular season record advance. That's not the way it should be! There should be upsets! You think the Dodgers would have picked the Nationals? No! Think about that, Nationals fans. Your team may not have even made it out of the wild card round. If the Dodgers had the ability to pick their own opponent, why on God's earth would they have picked the Nationals? You're eliminating any chance of upsets. You know what? Quite frankly, if you want to go this route, just put every team in a tournament. The team with the best record at the end of the regular season can pick their opponent. Second best team can pick their opponent. Third best team, fourth best team, whatever. Why are we even stopping at 7? Again, I don't mind the expanded playoffs. And if you want to have it 3 straight days, fine. I'm all for that. I don't like the idea of one team getting all the home games. That's incredibly unfair to the road team and the fans of the road team. If it's Yankees Athletics, the fans of the Athletics are screwed. Yeah, they're going to fly to New York, miss God knows how many days of work, all for a baseball game. This is so dumb that whoever first proposed this idea, if I was Rob Manfred, whoever first proposed this idea to me, I'd have fired him on the spot. I wouldn't want to affiliate myself with something this dumb. And the fact that Major League Baseball hasn't come out and disavowed it proves that this guy doesn't know a damn thing about baseball. There are a lot of people that don't like Bud Selig. Bud Selig is Landis compared to this guy. This guy's given Spike Eckert a run for his money as the worst commissioner in all of baseball. I'll tell you what. If this goes through, I seriously may stop watching baseball. You're turning the postseason into a gimmick, and I want nothing to do with it. I'll take up golf. I'll take up soccer. I'll take up tennis. I'll find a summer sport. No way would I want to be affiliated at all with this. I'd rather have robot umpires than this. And I'm torn on the robot umpires. I'm a baseball traditionalist, but this makes robot umpires seem like a brilliant idea. I don't know what the solution to fixing the declining interest in baseball is, but I know that it's not turning the playoffs into a sideshow. The last big story that I want to talk about concerns Jason Zucker. He's been rumored to have been on the block for a while, and Bill Guerin finally traded him. He traded him to the Penguins for Alex Galchenyuk, Kalen Addison, and a first-round pick. I'll attack this trade from 3 ends. The Penguins, the Wild, and the Islanders. For the Penguins, it makes perfect sense. Alex Galchenyuk was not working in Pittsburgh. We all know that he has talent. He's a guy who you can usually count on to put up 40, 50 points a year. But for whatever reason, it was not working in Pittsburgh. He only had 17 points this year in 45 games. That's not going to cut it. And for a team that really needed help to make a legitimate Stanley Cup run, Jim Rutherford couldn't have done any better than Jason Zucker. He improves his roster tenfold, and Zucker's a guy who Rutherford has been after for a long time, and for good reason. Zucker's a really good player. He's a guy who you can usually count on to get 40, 50 points a year. He's on that pace again, and I commend the Penguins for doing this. Truthfully, I don't keep up to date with NHL prospects, so I'm not going to talk about Addison. I know that he's very highly thought of, but I can't really comment one way or another. And the first round pick, if you're a team that's going for it, yeah, you were going to have to give up a first round pick for Jason Zucker. That's just obvious. No issue with that at all. Especially with this guy not being a rental. He has 3 years left after this year, so like I said, no problem at all with the Penguins giving up a first round pick. If he was a true rental, yeah, okay. That's an issue. But you're going to have him for 3 more years after this year. It's a no-brainer. The Penguins easily won this trade. For the Wild, it makes sense too. They're a team that for a long time has relied on veterans for their playoff runs. And it has not worked. Now, fortunately for them, it seems like they're turning the page. Kevin Fiala and Luke Kunin are going to lead the Wild into the future. And they have some really good secondary pieces in Joel Eriksson-Ek, Jordan Greenway, and Ryan Donato. They also have a pretty decent young goalie in Kaapo Kähkönen. He's another highly thought of prospect. I haven't seen much of him, so I really can't comment on him. He did play 5 games for the Wild this year, and he looked pretty good, so hey, I think the Wild is set up well for the future. Galchenyuk makes perfect sense for him. He's a reclamation project, and the Wild have the luxury of having him sort himself out on a team that really isn't looking to do much this year. It's kind of interesting, though. He's 25 years old. He's actually going to be 26 tomorrow. Happy early birthday. We're trading you now. He's going to be 26 tomorrow, and he's already on his 4th NHL team. It's really, really sad when you stop and think about it. You may be asking yourself why Zucker was on the trade block. I mean, he does have 3 years left, and he's a really good player. Well, the Wild are kind of limited as to who they can trade to get better for the future. They can't trade Parise. They can't trade Suter. And you're probably not going to get a lot for Eric Stahl. Zucker was their best trade chip, and it made perfect sense for him to be on the trade block. I don't mind this trade for the Wild by any stretch, but the Penguins still won it easily. The real losers in this deal are the New York Islanders. And I'm going to tell you why. While there will be better players moved before the trade deadline, Chris Kreider and J.G. Pageau being some obvious ones, Zucker was probably the most enticing trade chip just because he's going to be on the team for 3 more years. Guys like Kreider, Pageau, Sammy Vatanen, Brendan Dillon, Ilya Kovalchuk, Tyler Toffoli, they're all pending UFAs. I'll tell you right now, I would rather trade for Zucker, knowing that he has 3 years left, than any of those guys and having to re-sign him or have him walk in free agency. The Islanders, historically, have been hesitant to make trades for rentals. Usually because it doesn't work. Chris Wagner, I liked that trade when it happened, but he walked in free agency. He went to the Bruins. Ryan Smith, blockbuster deal. He walked after the playoffs. I understand the hesitance to trade for rentals. But Zucker made perfect sense. Why is Lou Lamoriello so hesitant to trade his prospects for a guy who's going to be with the Islanders for 3 more years? I'll tell you right now, I never heard a single rumor saying that the Islanders were in on Zucker. I haven't heard a rumor saying they're in on anyone except J.G. Pageau. And all due respect to J.G. Pageau, but he's not a world beater. So I don't want to hear that Lamoriello is waiting for the right guy. J.G. Pageau is a good two-way forward, and I like the idea of him in Trotz's system. I think he'd fit in perfectly on the third line. Bellows, Pageau, Brassard. Fantastic. I like that third line. I really, really do. That's not the issue here. The issue is that he's not a superstar. So I don't want to hear the argument that Lamoriello isn't willing to trade prospects for good, not great players. Because Pageau is good, not great. Pageau is better than Zucker, but it's not an astronomical difference. If Zucker's a 7, then Pageau is a 7.5. And if Lamoriello really isn't in on Pageau, that's worse! Because I guarantee you Pageau is going to be traded. If he gets traded to the Western Conference, no big deal. If he's traded to the Eastern Conference, it's to a team that the Islanders are chasing. Every team around them is trying to get better. Are the Islanders trying to get better? Besides Pageau, the answer is no. And truthfully, I haven't heard that rumor about Pageau to the Islanders in a while. Now, that doesn't mean it won't happen, but it just means that it's probably not going to happen soon. The Islanders can't afford to wait. The Penguins struck. The Islanders need to respond. Trade for Pageau now. And if you really don't want him, find a superstar out there and go after him. We all know that the Kings are shopping Tyler Toffoli, and Alec Martinez has had his name in trade rumors. It really doesn't hurt to ask about Anze Kopitar. There's no way that he's untouchable anymore for the Kings. Hell, the Red Wings aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Place a call for Dylan Larkin. Mortgage the future for a superstar. And look, if you get shot down, that's okay. But ask. and be persistent about it. The Minnesota Timberwolves were shot down constantly on D'Angelo Russell. You know what? They didn't take no for an answer. After months and months of trying, they finally got their man. Now, Lamoriello doesn't have that luxury of waiting months and months. He has to go now, and he has to go hard. Now, I'm going to contradict myself from something I've said in the past. I've said in the past that Bellows is a guy who I would be open to trading. I really don't want to trade him. I like Bellows a lot. I think he plays the game the right way. He's got a really, really good hockey mind. Can score. Can defend. I think Bellows is a keeper. If it's the missing link between the Islanders and a superstar, okay, fine, trade him. But I prefer to hold on to him. But other than that, guys like Dobson, DeCall, Bodie Wild, Oliver Wahlstrom, Simon Holmstrom, trade them all! Get better now! I'm sick and tired of hearing about these young prospects that are going to come up and save the day. Lamoriello needs to do something before the deadline. If he doesn't, the Islanders are going to be eliminated in the first round. It's just that simple. In fact, I was thinking about it. The trade deadline is the 24th. Now, I'm always thinking ahead when it comes to this show. So, what I'm going to do is, this coming Monday, the 17th, you'll get a New York Islanders show. And February 24th, you'll get a Brooklyn Nets show in the morning, the Jacob Valk show in the afternoon, and a special New York Islanders show in the evening. I'm not going to wait to discuss it until the week after. I want to strike while the iron is hot. And if the Islanders stand pat, I'll still do a show for you. I promise you, on February 24th, you're going to get 3 shows. So mark your calendars appropriately. I do want to go to those 2 stories that aren't earth-shattering, but they're still worth talking about. And the first one of those is the Diamondbacks signing Nick Ahmed to an extension. This guy is the typical all-glove, no-bat shortstop. He's one of the best fielding shortstops in the game, but you're lucky if he hits 250. And he doesn't get on base a lot. He's a good player. He's not terrible. There's a role for him on a team. And I know that the Diamondbacks like him. The Diamondbacks traded Didi Gregorius to give Ahmed the starting shortstop job. They saw the competition on the horizon, so they traded Gregorius to the Yankees. I'm pretty sure they'd rather have Gregorius. This is a huge overpay for Ahmed. There's no chance that he's worth this new extension. He's getting $32.5 over the next 4 seasons. He's not worth $8 million a year. He's worth probably $5 million a year. They've had a really good offseason so far with signing Bumgarner and trading for Marte. And this doesn't negate that at all, but I'm still really, really skeptical of this move. The second story that I want to talk about is Duke beating FSU. And I guess it's too late to say that I meant FSU would cover the spread. Not that I thought they'd win outright, right? They did cover the spread, though, so if you were betting with me, you made money. This game went just about as I expected it to. FSU was not efficient with the basketball. Guys like Malik Osborne, Trent Forrest, and Devin Vassell were not efficient at all from the field. That was really unexpected to me. And FSU had every opportunity to win this game. If each of those three guys sinks just 2 more shots, they win the game. I guarantee you that all 3 of them were kicking themselves last night. But Duke won this game for one reason, and one reason only. And this is a guy who has had a decent season, but he hasn't had a great season. And that is Jordan Goldwire. Who saw that game coming? I understand he was only 5 for 5. And he was only 3 for 3 from beyond the arc. Alright, that's fine. I get that it's not an earth-shattering performance from that end. But we all knew that Carey was going to get his. We all knew that Trey Jones was going to get his. And we all knew that Matthew Hurt was going to get his. Duke needed someone else to step up in this game for them to win. And Goldwire was that. It wasn't Moore. It wasn't Stanley, who had a really bad game. It wasn't Delorier, another guy who had a bad game. And it wasn't Alex O'Connell, although he had an okay game. Moore didn't have a good game either, for whatever it's worth. The 4th guy was Goldwire. And if Duke can sustain this model of we have 8 really good players and 4 of them can go off on any given night, you're not going to know who to game plan against. They're a scary team come March. If you game plan against Carey and he's off, well, you did your job, but Trey Jones can then go off. If you game plan against Cassius Stanley and he's off, okay, but then Matthew Hurt can go off. And so on, and so on. This was a very impressive Duke win, and it's one that does set them up well for March. Tomorrow, there are 3 huge college basketball games: Creighton versus Seton Hall, Kansas versus West Virginia, and Marquette versus Villanova. Odds are I'm going to be previewing them all. You'll also hear me breaking down the latest and greatest in sports, whatever it may be. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk, saying that the most beautiful thing in the world is a ballpark filled with people.